People are often curious about the difference between a bespoke custom sailing trip like the ones that we take people on versus a cruise. And we just went on our first cruise ever. So, in this episode, we're going to be able to give a side by side comparison from our firsthand experience.
Welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. We are your hosts, Erik, Orton.
And I'm Emily Orton.
And here we talk about personal growth and sailing. In 2014, we moved aboard a fixer-upper sailboat and bootstrapped a year sailing with our 5 kids, and it changed our lives forever.
We tell the whole story in our memoir, our book, 7 at Sea. On this podcast, we want to help you go from fear to freedom, one adventure at a time. So we just went on our very first cruise, and we didn't know exactly what to expect. I think one of my favorite things, Erik, you said, if they have an elevator, I want to ride it. And then what?
Plot spoiler, they had 12 elevators. There were 3 banks of elevators, 4 in each bank. So I was not disappointed. I had lots of elevators to ride.
Right. So apparently there are all different sizes of cruise ships, and there are different brands that you can go with. So for those of you who are cruising experts, we were on Holland America Line, and we were on a mid-size ship that held around 4,000 people. Just under 3,000 of those were guests, and the others were the people needed to run that city at sea. So today we thought it would be fun. We can just tell a little bit about our cruise, and then we can kind of do a side-by-side. So ours was, we flew into San Diego, and then we sailed from San Diego down to Cabo and La Paz and Loreto in Mexico. And then we sailed back up again. And it was beautiful, and it was nice to be in the sunshine. And the ship was incredible. And we'll just dive in. Was there anything you wanted to say about, I mean, we were both just kind of blown away when we walked on board. We were like laughing. We were like, what is this?
Well, I expected to be blown away, and I was blown away in my blown awayness. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Go and Do Travel, who invited us on this trip and invited us to come and speak and present, which is an opportunity that it would have taken us a lot longer to get to it, but we were really felt honored to be invited and that they trusted in us, and we got to. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but it was really lovely to be on this trip with them and the group of about 400 that they had put together.
And if you've been getting our emails, you've seen the advertisements for these Go and Do travel cruises, Momentum West and Momentum East. So we still have one more cruise to go. We'll do the East Coast down into the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. But we were so honored to be invited to speak and present to this group, and they were so generous and so willing to take up this question of what could go right. And after that, for the rest of the cruise, people were coming up and telling us what islands they've chosen to move towards, and they've been saying what could go right. And I think my favorite story was there was an a cappella group performing with us, and not with us, although that would be.
Maybe we could hire them to be our backing band.
But they were also performing for this same audience, and they did such an amazing job. And their choreographer jumped into a dance competition. She felt a little bit.
This is just like another activity going on the boat.
Yeah, it was just an activity on the boat, and she felt a little anxious about it because while she was a choreographer, she didn't have any
formal training or background.
No formal training, and so she was a little nervous. And then her friend said, "What could go right?" And so she jumped into the dance competition, and she won.
Boom.
And I love those kind of stories with so many people like, oh yeah, we've been saying what could go right, and hey, this could go right. And I just love spreading that mentality. So that was a really delightful part of this journey for us, was getting to participate as presenters and share some of our stories and some of our way of looking at the world.
I want to go back and talk about the experience of arriving on the boat. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay.
First of all, I thought it was really pleasant. It was so well managed that we arrive at the dock and we're able to drop off our bags with the porter and just say, this is what cabin we're in. And they're going to get our bags to our cabin for us so that as we're making our way through the ship, we just had our backpacks. That was really lovely. And they made that really easy. And then as we check in and they have a little app and you scan a barcode and that kind of gets you access to the boat. But everywhere, at every turning point, there's a pleasant person there, clearly dressed in something that indicates they're with Holland America. And they're saying, welcome aboard. Glad to have you here. Hope you have a wonderful trip. Bon voyage. And they're kind of directing you where to go. Because there's a lot of twists and turns to get checked in, and they scan your passport, and you're going to leave the country, and so there's a little bit of bureaucracy that has to happen, but they just make it flawless and painless and smooth. And then you have to go up a ramp, and then next thing you know, like you cross this little bridge and poof, you're on the boat. It's like you don't feel anything. And just the fact that we were so guided and taking care of at every turn. And then we get on, and there's people that are, and at that point we have people from Go and Do Travel that are there to greet us. But I'm like, well, then it's just like a little bit of overload for me, because then there's, not swirling staircases. What do you call those staircases that go up? Like spiral staircases. There's spiral staircases, and there's carpet, and it feels like we're in a building, which we kind of are. And I, not too long later, realized that there's 14 decks to this boat. I max out at 2, maybe 3. Our boats have 3, like if you count the upper kind of helm stations. So to go from 3 to 14 was pretty epic. And there's 2 pools and pickleball courts, and there's a walking running track, and there's, for those of you that have cruised, you're like, duh, we know all this. This isn't new to us, but it was new to me. And we get to our cabin, and it was so nice with the king size bed and a balcony and full bathroom, and and I know
couch.
And I know that not all the cabins are the same, and we had a nice cabin
and a little desk. We love to have a desk.
I love to have a desk.
So that was awesome. And a flat screen TV that we'd never used.
I think we watched the safety video, and that was the only thing we watched on that TV. But it was just so, and it was a little bit overwhelming. Like I was telling one of the staff members from Go and Do at one of our dinners, he was asking what I thought, and I was like, I haven't even made it to the back end of the boat yet. Like this is on day 2 or 3. I was like, there's so much to take in and absorb, and it was a little bit overwhelming. And granted, I was kind of sick on the front end of the trip, and so I was a little bit foggy, but it just, there was a lot.
I remember we usually have a pattern when we go to a new place, especially if it has hills or mountains. We like to go to a high place to kind of get an overview of everything, and then we like to go down to the water if there's water, like if there's a river, like Rome, for example. So we went up to the very top deck of the ship called the Sky Deck, and kind of looked over the whole thing for starters. And then you were like, maybe now let's go back to the room and kind of relax for a minute. And then we'll come explore a little bit more later. And then let's go back to the room. And if you've ever heard us talk about navigating out of the harbor as one of the steps in our navigator framework for approaching, a big change or a big goal or destination you have in mind, that is one of them. And you just kind of expand your comfort zone a little bit at a time. And, by the end, we really, especially you, knew our way around the boat. You always knew where we were in the boat, whether we were heading forward or aft, and whether we were on the port side or the starboard side. And honestly, inside and without windows everywhere, I couldn't always tell where we were or what was going on. Oh, and there was a casino right in the middle of the whole thing. And there was this giant stage that we presented on that had 3 jumbo screens, and it seated like 700 people. And and we'd be in there, and you could feel the anchor coming up, or you could feel the boat pitching one way or another, but you can't see anything outside. There's no wind. You can't see the water, and it's a surreal feeling.
Yeah, that's a good reminder about how we kept going back to the cabin, because I truly we'd go out for half an hour, and it took a while to figure out where to get a glass of water or a mug of herbal tea or something. And we were still trying to figure all that out, because we didn't know how the buffet and the cafeteria and all that stuff worked yet. And we had a pretty full schedule of events that we were to show up at, which we were happy to do. But yeah, whenever we had a chance, I was like, let's just like we go out for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, walk around, like see a new area. Like, let's go back to the cabin and just lay down on the bed for a
Yeah.
second. And I think it was smart of us to take breaks and just pace ourselves, because anytime you're in a new situation, our daughter is going back to school with a baby for the first time.
Mhm.
And, that's a new thing, and she's working to pace herself. And I know that whenever she gets to go to a place on campus where she can just rest and kind of be by herself with our grandson, that it's just a really great opportunity to recover.
Yeah. You need to recover a little bit. So anyway, for those of you who've been on a cruise, you get it. But I also know that there are some of you who have that as your dream, that you someday hope you maybe want to go on a cruise. And maybe this will open your eyes to a little bit of what it can be like and what's possible there, and just see it through our eyes instead of through the brochure.
Well, and you made this cool list of 11 things that are really great about cruising. And I think
Oh yeah,
it's worth reading, I think, or working our way through these.
Yeah, we wanted to do, I thought we could do a side-by-side comparison, or we could do everything about cruising and give our commentary, and then we can say everything about our sailing trips and how they're different. Do you want to
Your call.
do it like that?
Whatever you prefer.
Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and say everything about cruising, and then we'll tell how that's different. It's a different kind of experience than what we offer, since people ask.
All right, so I'll read the number. Full service relaxation. This is definitely that. Somebody makes your bed. Somebody picks up your towels and launders them. Somebody prepares your food. Somebody, drives the boat. Somebody takes care of every single system, every single thing.
Yeah, they arrange the tenders to shore, and or the buses that go into town when you dock.
Yeah, everything is set up and taken care of for you, and so you don't have to cook, you don't have to sail or drive the boat, you don't have to, you put your clothes you hang your clothes on the hangers and put them in the drawers, and that's kind of like the heavy lifting part of.
That's your job. Yeah.
They even get your luggage to your cabin, and they'll take it away if you want at the end of the trip and have it ready for you on the dock. So it is full service relaxation. They'll make your meals. They'll fix your drinks. They'll bring it to you. When you sit down at one of the restaurants on the boat, they'll bring you your appetizer. They'll bring you your entree. They'll bring you your dessert. And they bring you all the fancy silverware and all that.
They literally take the napkin off the table and set it in your lap for you, which I don't usually go to restaurants where that happens. So
we're more like the Chipotle people.
Yeah, so that was a big surprise. I'm like, I got it. Oh no, okay, I'll just
there you go.
Sit still while you put that napkin where it goes.
Okay, so full service relaxation. It provides that in spades. The next thing, variety of people. There were, our trips are a max of 12, plus me and you. But so we're talking about a low number compared to this ship, which has thousands of people on it.
I think they said there were over 50 different countries and languages represented on the boat.
Amongst the staff, yeah. And actually one of our favorite presentations that we went to that we were not a part of, we just went and observed and enjoyed was like something about this floating city, and they walk you through all the systems and the staff, everything that it takes to run that ship. And yeah, they're from all over the world and all kinds of backgrounds, everything from a chef to waste management to entertainers and the captain. And anyway, but there's a variety of people, and we were with a group of several hundred, but there were a few thousand people on this boat, and so you're with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's some variety to that, and there are certainly some things that are probably you may not want to be with a lot of people, but you have a chance if you want to.
I remember thinking I would be pretty excited to use the hot tub. I love being warm. I love hot tubs. The first couple of days as we were leaving San Diego and getting further south, it was pretty chilly. We
Hmm.
asked for an extra blanket. And so I was thinking, I'm going to love the hot tub. They've provided a robe, they've provided a towel, and the hot tubs looked really nice. But also, the swimming pool and the hot tub was right in the middle of basically a food court. So all around it are tables and chairs and a jumbotron. And I don't, I don't know how much I want to just sit in the hot tub while everybody's just around here eating. And I never did go in the hot tub. So that was an amenity that I missed out on.
So variety of people, though, you're with a variety. This is number 2 on the list. You're with a large number of people, and so there's all kinds of people to meet and talk with.
Mm-hmm.
Third is planned itineraries. This was very locked in the sense of like just everything worked very smoothly. Anchor, we cast off at a certain time. We arrived by a certain time. The captain moved the boat at the right speed to get us where we needed to go. When we got there were excursions available where you go to shore, and everything was very clearly laid out. It was very well planned, um, and there's not a lot of flexibility, but there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed is that you needed to sign up for these things far in advance of getting on the boat. You couldn't decide at the last minute that you wanted to add. It was an additional fee on top of the cost of your cruise to be able to do an excursion booked through them. And even when it was booked through them and planned in advance and all of their expertise at timing everything, they would still get moved. They would still say it was going to be in the morning, but now it's going to be in the afternoon, or now it's not going to happen, or it would still shift.
We didn't do any of these
Yeah.
excursions, but people that we were with, other presenters had planned some things, and they got kind of shifted around a little bit. I liked what we did.
Yeah. So that's also a possibility. What we did is we got off we just got on one of the tenders and went to shore. And in Cabo, we rented paddle boards and we just paddle boarded out to this beautiful arch and then back. And that took us about 2 hours to do the paddle boarding. And the rest of the time was spent finding the,
Walking to the
walking to the location and walking back.
Yeah, we found the place we just Googled stand-up paddle boards in Cabo and found a place, but we decided we could have taken a cab, but we wanted to walk through town.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent about 30 minutes walking there, found the place, booked the paddle boards, went to the nearby restaurant and changed into our swimsuits and went out and had fun, totally on our own.
Yeah, and we went onto the beach and we went, put the paddle boards down, walked to the other side of the beach, climbed up on some rocks, climbed down, took a couple of selfies, and then it was time to hustle back because we knew we had an hour paddle back, and then we were either going to take a cab or we ended up having time to walk again the 30 minutes back to where the tender was picking us up. But it was beautiful when we got to see that whole tourist area, and I really loved watching the pelicans dive and things like that. But it was quick. It was quick. It wasn't like relaxing. If someone went in and they just went to one restaurant and ate a leisurely meal, they might have felt like, oh, that was so relaxing. But I know we were hustling.
Yeah, it was pretty chop, and I'm glad we did what we did, and
Yeah.
it was one of the highlights of the trip for me.
Yeah, me too.
But it was there wasn't a lot of time to just sort of lollygag.
It wasn't leisurely. Yeah, for sure. We had to get moving. Okay,
that's the
next
planned
one.
itineraries. Next item is modern comforts.
Oh yeah, baby.
Well, you already talked about the robe. We had robes in our cabin. We had a nice flat screen TV that we didn't really use. We had a very comfortable bed. We had a thermostat in our room.
We had a mini fridge.
Our cabins on our sailboats actually have thermostats as well, but we'll save that for later.
That's the same. Yeah, it had a mini fridge in our stateroom, and it had blackout curtains, which I loved. It had really hot water, plenty of it, and
nice hot showers. Like turn on the faucet and have a nice, lots of fresh water too.
And it even had a thing you could pull across the shower to hang dry items if you wanted to, and it had shampoo, conditioner, and
Yeah, those dispensers like you'd see in a nice hotel, or
Shower gel
just a regular hotel.
and soap and lotion and every once in a while, twice I think, when we came back at the end of the day, there were little Lindt chocolates on the end of our bed, which I really appreciated.
That was pretty great. Yeah,
Oh yeah, and elegant dining. My goodness.
pretty elegant dining. And like you mentioned, there's 2 swimming pools and 6 hot tubs, and they had a fitness center and a library. So lots of really nice amenities that made it very comfortable. You weren't like nobody was suffering on this trip.
Yeah, and shopping. We didn't go to any of the shopping places, but yeah, they had a spa and there were stores where you could buy jewelry if you decided that's what
Or
you needed.
watches
Watches
and lots of places to get all kinds of different food.
and entertainment. Yeah.
Okay. Educational opportunities. That's the next thing on our list.
I did feel like there were some educational opportunities in the sense that, for example, they had a lecture on how the boat runs behind the scenes. And sometimes they have people who come present on all different topics. They had comedians.
But we didn't get to go to many of these because we were pretty busy. But they have presentations about the ports where you're going to stop, where they'll give some
Mm-hmm.
background and some history and some culture. And so we didn't get to hear those, but they had versions on the TV that you could watch that were kind of short. And they also had a seminar where I don't know if the captain was there, but it was what does it take to be a captain of a ship that size? And I was pretty interested in that. Not that I want to be a cruise ship captain, but I think it's just cool to think of, what do you have to do to be in charge of this many thousands of people and this much of a, this size ship. And so, yeah, there's lots of opportunities to learn about where you're sailing to, the boat that you're on. And we learned that if they do larger crossings, like you're doing a crossing over the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean, that they will bring on specialists to talk about all kinds of stuff that may not be related to that particular week, where you could learn about people that are just fascinating and interesting. And I know actually when I used to manage Broadway tours, one of the guys that I work with, he was the head publicist for Phantom of the Opera, and he would go on cruise ships and just talk about being a publicist for Broadway, and they'd pay his way, and so you can hear from all kinds of different people on all kinds of different subjects.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, onboard entertainment. I think we talked a lot about that, but they did have live music shows. They had grand pianos and singer songwriters, and they had
Comedians, dance troupe.
yeah, they had all of that stuff. And they would hold dance competitions and bingo nights and games and quiz nights and all kind of stuff. So we didn't go to
Lots
any
going
of
on there.
that, but yeah, they had it. Actually, one of the things that we did that was super fun is we had a game inventor, Grandpa Beck, and he's invented so many games. If you've ever played Cover Your Assets, I think that's the most familiar one to most people. And he just had a bunch of old games and some of his new games he's just coming out with. And he was just there with a headset, and you could grab a game and just play, and he'd help you understand the rules if you had any questions. So that wasn't part of the cruise ship, but that was part of what our group was offering, and it was super fun.
It was.
Diverse dining options. Yes, there were many different places you could go ask for some food or go sit down and have it brought to you. Always burgers, always pizza, and then kind of a rotating variety of meals, whether you wanted salads or breads or meats or
Yeah, there was the Lido deck, which always sounded like a cliche to me, but this boat actually had a Lido deck. And if you know what Lido stands for, I'm curious.
yeah, maybe let us know.
But there was a Lido deck that was pretty much open from sun up to
Like
late,
11.
and you could go there at any time and get a snack or a meal. And in addition to other restaurants that were more sit down, where the food would be plated and brought to you, you could just go in the Lido deck. You could just go and get something, and they had kind of cafeteria style seating around, and you could they would still bring you water. You
Yeah.
you could get your own, but they would handle the cutlery and all that sort of stuff. But it was somewhere between a serve yourself buffet and a sit down restaurant.
Yeah, I think what surprised me is that it wasn't serve yourself. It was come up to the window and see what we have and then ask for it. But you're rarely going to get the spoon to scoop your own unless it's like fruit.
Yeah, they talk about it being a buffet, but you very rarely, you still have to ask for it.
Yeah, you had to ask
So
for everything. So to me, that was a little bit of a barrier, but I got over it. Okay, convenient access.
this is
Yes,
now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
we're yeah,
We're at 8 out of 11.
yeah,
Convenient access.
yes. Docked at major ports with seamless excursions to iconic sites. Yes.
Yeah, you can, we're sailing out of San Diego, which is pretty easy to get to. We're doing another cruise next month and we'll sail out of Fort Lauderdale, also easy to get to. And we lived in New York for all those years and we would always drive past the cruise docks and I just thought, man, that looks like a big boat and a lot of people and I never even thought about getting on a cruise ship out of New York City, but there were cruise ships there every week.
While we were getting on this cruise ship, somebody who comes sailing with us was texting me from New York saying, "Hey, I'm in your old neighborhood. I'm getting on a cruise ship."
So
and they were going on like a 24-day cruise.
Yeah, so we've lived in a cruise hub most of our adult lives and never even thought of it.
Yeah, completely ignored it.
But it was New York's a pretty convenient place to get to as well.
That's true. Solo or social? Yes. You could choose to engage in group activities or just enjoy alone time at your own pace. That's probably true. That wasn't totally our experience because we were hired guns, as our friend Brent Top likes to say.
But there were people that were on this trip that we met a handful of widows that were traveling sometimes with friends, but there were some people that would come by themselves. Sometimes it was couples. Sometimes it was two sisters traveling together. And so, yeah, you can come on a trip alone or with other people, and you can certainly come and meet people there. I know that on the first day, they announced like, hey, if you're traveling solo, you can come to our solo traveler meetup. And they had a gathering at one of the kind of lounge bar areas, and you could just go and get acquainted with other people that were on the trip traveling solo in case you wanted to make friends. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. So, and then it says relaxation focused, more passive enjoyment, perfect for recharging without much effort. I definitely think it was more passive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was feed me, entertain me. That was
make my bed.
Make my bed. Yeah, exactly. that was. So if you find that very relaxing, then you would probably really enjoy this experience.
And last but not least, I'm going to say it's indulgent. If you want to be pampered, if you want to sleep in and eat food that you don't have to worry about thinking about or preparing, and you want to go to the spa and you want to sit by the poolside and read a book, and you want to, go to shore and have somebody show you something really fascinating, this is for you. This is pampering.
Yeah. Yep.
Enough said there.
I don't know. I'm just thinking like I'm the kind of person who's like, I don't see why you need to come in my room. Like you can come in when we leave, when we're done for the week. So I was like, oh, I'm going to have to come in. Oh, I'm going to have to ask for food. Oh, I have to wait, 20 minutes to get off this boat to get onto a Tinder that's then going to take half an hour to get to shore. So,
should we,
as far as it being indulgent, maybe if you're of the mind that you love to have everybody take care of you and you don't mind how long that might take, you would really like this.
It's not always fast.
It's slow.
Okay, so that's everything on the what we loved and what might some of the positive things about going on a cruise ship. Should we?
Yeah, you might like that experience.
You want to go through some things on the differences of how those might contrast with when we take people sailing?
Yeah, and so if you come on a sailing trip with us, it's quite different. You're much closer to the water, and there's a lot of hands-on participation. You get to actively help sail the boat, navigate, decide where we're going to go, choose the itinerary, change it in the middle of the trip if you want to. And you get this real sense of accomplishment and community and friendship and teamwork. And I know one of my favorite things that we do together is that you can come into that kitchen 24/7 and grab something out of the cabinet, snacks, crackers, cheese, nuts, fresh fruit, whatever you want. You can just grab it. You don't have to ask anybody. You don't have to tell anybody. You can just take it right back to your cabin if you want, or take it to shore with you. And
Can do whatever you want with that food.
yeah, exactly.
Free the food.
And also, one of the things I noticed is that I expected there to be a lot of chocolate, like truffles and candy bars or things like that, Hershey Kisses, I don't know. And there were not. And so we like to stock ours with a lot of chocolate.
And when we went to shore to get, after we went on our paddle boards, we bought some peanut M&Ms and Gatorade. And
we felt really happy. We're like, yeah, we can buy our own chocolate. And the group size is intimate. Maybe you want to speak to that. That facilitates that community building and that friendshipping.
Yeah, the biggest size group we take out is 12 guests, and it's 2 people per cabin. So you get to know everybody on the boat, and you have lots of chances to have conversations. And I love the blend on our boats where you can have as much alone time as you want or as much together time as you want. And even though it's usually a 50-ish foot boat, there's plenty of places to spread out. And so even if everybody's out on deck or inside on one of the couches or on the table, there's plenty of places to be by yourself and just read a book or, write some things down in your notebook and or be in your cabin and be out of the sun and take a nap. But if you want to be social, you can be as social as you want. You can be as alone as you want.
Sometimes there's a hammock.
I like to put in my hammock.
And people can go in the hammock, and there can be other people all around you, and you don't even see them because you're in your hammock. So yeah, that I do like the together and the camaraderie, and also the time to be alone. And the customizable itinerary, obviously, it's incredibly flexible. You don't have to bring your passport to get on the Tinder to go into town. You just go into town.
Yeah, and also, Emily was saying, we can modify the itinerary on the fly, which is true. We'll usually map out where we're going to go at the beginning of the week, but then if we all find a spot that we love, we'll just say let's go back there again because we liked it so much, or let's not leave. Let's stay here 2 days. And we can, the day starts when everyone's ready. Sometimes, very rarely, I'll say, "Hey, I'm going to start moving the boat at a certain hour because if we've agreed that we want to get to a certain place and we need to leave by a certain time to get there." But you can just stay in bed. I'll need a couple people to help pull anchor. But yeah, the itinerary is very flexible and it's very easygoing, and I dare say relaxing.
Yeah, I think it's really relaxing. One of the parts I really love is that how close you are to nature. You can sleep under the stars. You could even open up your hatch and see the stars from your cabin if you want to, if the stars are out. I love that you can swim in these secluded coves. When you go somewhere on a cruise ship, you're always bringing several thousand people with you. So you're never going to be somewhere secluded.
Yeah, but on our sailing trips, finding an anchorage where it's just us and nobody else is pretty common. If we want that, we can find it. I love that on the sailboat, you can wake up and as long as you're in your swimsuit, you can just dive right off the boat and be in the water like first thing. You can dive off the bow, you can dive off the stern, you can be in the water as early and often as you want.
I've loved seeing people that, like, if everyone's eating breakfast and someone's like, "Oh, I'm just really eager to get to shore and I'm feeling peppy." And we had one guy, he just hopped off in his t-shirt, shorts, and tennis shoes, swam to shore, did a little run on the island, and then I think we brought him back because by then we were over to the island. But anyway, he's just like, "I'm ready to go now," and off he went.
Yep, I love that.
I love that.
And people, yeah, you can swim to shore if you want. You can take the dinghy to shore and back. As long as you know how to drive an outboard safely, you can come and go. And we also have kayaks and paddle boards so that you can get out and explore and go somewhere on your own without having to wait for the group to all get together.
Another thing that I love about being close to nature on the boat, you're like right down there at sea level, is your brain can make a lot more sense out of what's happening. Like you can, if the boat is moving, you see those waves coming into it. You see the horizon. You see how the boat is moving. Like your brain gets it. It's like, I see what's happening. Whereas if you're sitting in the middle of a dining room or on a stage or in a lounge or something and everything around you is moving, your brain's like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So that is different.
I felt way more sort of disconnected from my body and a little bit disoriented and maybe even a little bit queasy on the cruise ship because I'm in enclosed spaces where I can't relate what's happening motion wise to my surroundings. And whereas on a sailboat, I feel very comfortable because even if the boat is, rocking back and forth gently, it's not happening. I'm not blind to what's causing it.
Right. You can see it. You can
and
see
it,
it
and it
happening.
makes sense. And so therefore my body doesn't respond with motion sickness or anything like that.
And you can hear the water lapping up on the side of the boat, or you can actually see fish from standing on the boat. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, it's really cool. So I do love that part about how close to nature we are. Okay, moving on to learning experiences. I think we're about halfway through. This is one of the things that people love most, the hands-on experience that they're usually, people who come with us are usually sailing curious,
Mm-hmm.
or they're in a mixed interest level relationship, right? Where one of them is very interested and the other one isn't so much, but as they leave, they're so much closer together in their interest level, and they'll be surprised and delighted about how engaging it was and how proud of themselves they felt, whether they were coiling the ropes or um, dropping anchor or bringing up the anchor, or even on these boats, they're pretty easy to use, just like pushing the button and watching the sails go up. You're like, wow, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to participate. They're navigating or having the helm. And it doesn't take a whole lot of that. It's just a little bit here
Mm-hmm.
and there throughout the week. And a lot of it is sitting and reading or watching the waves or snorkeling around or whatever. But that little bit of it really seasons it and helps you feel like you've gained a new skill, a new understanding. And most everybody comes away with a appreciation for how intentionally boats are crafted and designed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next on your list is quiet serenity. I think that on the cruise ship, we we could get quiet, but you had to really hunt for it. You had to go to a place, whether it's your cabin or finding a deck where there was nobody else, was a little bit of an effort. Um, and one of my favorite things about being on a sailboat is at sunset or in the evening, it's very easy to get still and quiet. And same thing at sunrise, even during the day. But everyone's up kind of and awake. But there's so much stillness and quiet on a sailboat, and even if there's a little bit of wind or if there's a little bit of weather, it's peaceful to me.
Yeah, I was thinking, I kept saying, well, maybe, if we want to be alone with the view, we can just go to our veranda, you know? But I would stand at the veranda, and other people next to us, even though there were partitions, you could hear them having their conversations, or they might lean out and start asking questions back and forth. Or I know one night you went out and like someone was smoking weed. So you were like, well, I'm going to come back inside because that's not how I want to spend my time. But I was surprised to realize, oh, it actually feels like a much slower pace and much more relaxing when we're on the sailboat and we're close to the water and there are a few people and there is more quiet. So that was a surprise to me. Local and simple meals. Yes. We, on these sailboats, we purchase all the groceries locally. Obviously, we do a variety of simple meals. We want to make it super easy for you to prepare and really satisfying, whether you've had an afternoon of reading a book or whether you've come back from a snorkel and you've got wet, salty hair and you want to put on a hoodie and have something warm. We like to make something really comforting together. And I think that was another thing I was surprised at. I was like, oh, yeah, a lot of these are similar to the kind of food that we serve on our sailboats as well: fruit, nuts, breads, eggs.
It was good. It's good food,
Desserts,
but it's
yeah.
not. It wasn't like, hey, we're not like eating at like a top tier restaurant in New York City or something. It was good, solid, well prepared, tasty food.
Yeah. Um, adventure and discovery. Oh, you can talk about this one.
On the sailboats.
Yeah, on the sailboats.
Oh yeah, I mean,
those cruise ships can't even go in. It can't even get close to some of the places you can go on the
That's true.
sailboats.
One of the things that surprised me was that the cruise ship anchored out twice
Mm-hmm.
because the ports that we were going into weren't big enough to accommodate a vessel that size, which is fine. But with a sailboat, yeah, you can get real close to a lot of things, especially with the kind of boats we take out. You need 4 feet of water
Mm-hmm.
to get in. And so we can get into really tucked away, cool, quiet places. We can also get into town, and we can get close to the action if we want to. But
In some of the places you're like right on dock, like hop off and walk around town.
yeah, on our recent trip to Greece, we docked in town, and the stern was literally tied to the main road right along. You're on the dock, and that's the main road, and you could get to a gelato shop in 15 paces of stepping off the boat. It's a dangerous way to live.
So I remember that group loved that feature.
But on the same trip, we were able to go to places either for a lunch stop or for the night, and just have the place to ourselves and have a lot of privacy and a lot of quiet. So yeah, you have a lot of variety on a sailboat, and on a cruise ship. There's a little bit more. There's some more parameters.
I like the next one. It talks about team spirit, because I think on the sailboat, like you said, you can have alone time, and we've hosted several delightful introverts who have wanted to spend a lot of time in their own cabin or tucked into a little corner reading a book. But then we would also have gather up around meal times and get to know them a little better. But there is this sense of team spirit. Like, we went through something together. We did something really cool together, and we got together at the end of every day and talked about what we saw and what we did. And I think that's why in so many of the trips they stay in touch with each other.
Yeah, that is cool. Because if you haven't gone sailing with us, we do a text thread for every trip, and everybody gets to keep in touch and share pictures and from down the road, or updates on whatever is happening in their lives. And so there's a continuation of friendship and camaraderie even well after the trip.
Which is interesting, because I think one might be an obstacle for most people coming in is, oh, what's it going to be like spending, 6 or 7 days on a sailboat with some people that I haven't met before, or I've only met once on a Zoom, and I don't really know very well. Well, this is the delightful surprise, is that you cultivate this camaraderie and this team spirit, and this lifelong friendship is a possibility.
It's part of the what could go right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're coming down to the last two here: active and engaging.
Yeah.
I think that's one of your goals. And when you start out, you're doing all of the things and you're guiding everything. And then there's a turning point in the trip where people on board start to get the hang of it, and they enjoy it, and they like to participate, and they do. And then you're sitting back, and they're steering the boat, and they're, setting the sails. And
I remember the last day we were in Italy in September, and Jay, who was on the trip, he really loved sailing, and I was like, "Hey, so you sail the boat all the way home. You're at the helm. I'll be inside, and I can, I have visibility on what's going on, and I can see the charts, and so I know nothing's going to go awry." But he was in charge of the boat for several hours and got to sail it, and he was just so happy, and I was so happy for him, and I'm grateful that I can give that opportunity to people that want it. Not everybody wants to be at the helm. Not everybody wants to be hands on, but if you do, you get that on these trips.
yeah, I love that. Everybody gets to be involved. And even with the food, that is a way that makes people feel connected. It's leisurely, it's relaxing.
You
There's
mean
no stress about it.
putting a meal together?
Yeah, putting the meal together. It's like, which of these recipes do I want to make? I'll pull this one out, and a couple of buddies help you chop or saute or set the table. And it's no one's in a big rush,
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice. And then memories of shared effort. Yeah, I think that's at the end of the day, they take home this deep sense of satisfaction from working together and facing any challenges. And hopefully, this is a really helpful overview of what these two different kinds of experiences can be like. I think both of them offer new experiences, new friends, relaxation, and a chance to rejuvenate. And if going cruising sounds like it's for you, we hope you have a lovely time. We know we did as well. And if coming out sailing with us sounds like just the variety that you're looking for, then we offer many trips and we'd love to talk more about how we can help make your dream come true. So, either way, whether the cruise sounds like just what you're looking for, or if you want to join us on one of our custom sailing trips, both good. We'd love to have you. What could go right?
Hey guys, it's Erik. Before we sign off, I just want to give you the sailing update. For those of you that are interested in sailing with us sooner rather than later, we do have a couple of last minute spots that have opened up. A couple of people have had to shift around. So we're going to be in the British Virgin Islands March 10th through the 15th. This is 2025. And one couple has had to move to another trip. So their loss is your gain. But if you want to come March 10th through the 15th, we do have spots for 2 people, 1 cabin. Also, we're going to be in the Bahamas March 31st through April 5th. We have a couple of cabins open. So if that works for you, we're going to sail in and out of Nassau, sailing the beautiful Exuma Islands. If you want to sail with us a little bit further out on the calendar, June 7th through the 14th, we're going to be in Italy. All these next trips are in Europe, in the Mediterranean. Italy, Naples, beautiful spot, June 7th through the 14th. Greece, sailing out of Athens, July 19th through the 26th. Croatia, a town called Split. We're going to discover it together. I haven't been there before. So August 2nd through the 9th. So you can hop on one of our spring trips to the BVI or the Bahamas, or you can join us in Italy, Greece, or Croatia. Just shoot us an email, hello@theawesomefactory.nyc, or ping us on social media, DM us, and we'd love to hear from you and hopefully welcome you aboard.